Hello everyone, welcome to section 1.3. So today it will be about collecting sample data. So in this section, we will be studying mainly about two things. One is methods of data collection and their subdivisions, and also about types of sampling techniques. Okay, so let's get started. So in this document, I have included two types of notes. One is the detailed one, and another one is a summary notes. So you just can go quickly through that notes on your exam dates. So let me go there. Sample data. Now, so as I said to you, there are two methods of data collection. So what are those two methods? One is through observation, or we say observational study, and next is through experiment study. Okay, so this is how you collect the data. One thing, first method is that you observe and then you do the data collection. Second method is that you experiment on certain people and then you study the behavior. So that is called as experiment study. So let us study about the first method, observational study. So as I said you, it is more of observing the individuals and then recording the data. Now, in observational study, we have three types. Retrospective study. Retrospective study means you will be collecting data from past time. Okay, you are collecting data from the past time period. So that will be called as retrospective study. For example, in our class, we have the recorded lecture, right? So during exams, you go back to the recorded lectures and you do the data collection from that recorded lecture. So that is nothing but you are collecting data from the past time period, right? So that will be called as retrospective study. Second type is the cross-sectional study. So here data will be collected at one point in time. Okay. Prospective study. It is also called as longitudinal or cohort study. Okay. In prospective study, data will be collected in the future. Okay, remember. In retrospective, data is collected in the past time. Cross-sectional study, data is collected at one point in time. And prospective, data is collected in the future. It is more of like past tense, present, future. Okay. So example for this prospective study can be, so if I want to know the final grade of this course, then I would have to wait till the end of the semester, right? So then only I would be able to collect the data. So that will be called as prospective study, where we collect data from the future. Second method is the experiment. In experiment study, as I said you, here we experiment some treatment on individuals and then we record the behavior. So that is called as experiment study. So in this we have three types: replication, binding, blinding, and double blind. So what is replication? It is very simple. It is nothing but just repeating the same experiment on different individual. Okay, so repeating the experiment on more than one individual is called as replication. What is blinding? So this technique is very useful. So here what we do is the subject is nothing but a person who is involved in the study. Okay, so a person will not know whether he or she is receiving a treatment. Okay, so that is called as blinding technique. What is double blind? In double blind, there will be two levels. In first level, the subject or the individual will not know, as I said you previously, he will not know, he or she will not know that they are receiving the treatment. Okay, or a placebo. Placebo is nothing but like more of a neutral treatment. Okay, placebo is nothing but a neutral treatment that has no real effect. A neutral treatment that has no real effect. That is called as placebo. So in double blind, there will be two levels. In first level, the subject will not know that he or she is receiving the treatment. In the second level, the experiment will not know. The experimenter will not know whether he or she is administering the treatment or a placebo. Okay, so that means we have two people here. The person who is experimenting is called as experimenter, and the subject or a people who is involved in that experiment is, or who is receiving the treatment, is called as an individual or a subject. Okay, now in blinding, so as I said you, there are two levels. This is the first level where the individual will not know whether it is a treatment or a placebo. Treatment in the sense real treatment, or so it can be in two things: treatment or a placebo. Treatment in the sense real treatment, it can be a real treatment or it can be a neutral treatment. So in this first level, the individual will not know whether it is a treatment or a placebo. Okay, now in double blind, second level, in second level, both experimenter and the individual will not know whether it is a treatment or placebo. So both will not know whether it is a treatment or placebo. Okay. So let us see some examples. Now, Let us identify, you must identify whether it is observational study or experimental study. Okay. First question. A study of the effect of eating oatmeal on lowering blood pressure. What is this? Is this a observation or experiment? So here it is a study where it is experimenting on the people that if you eat an oatmeal, it reduces the blood pressure. Okay, so this is definitely experiment study. So you are experimenting something and you are recording, or you are recording the behavior of that experiment. So this is experiment study. Second question. A study of how fourth grade students solve puzzle. So is this experiment study? No, because the question clearly says that you are studying about the behavior of the fourth grade student who is solving the puzzle. So that means you are observing him, right? So that is why this is the observational study. Observational study. So these are the two examples. Now let us study about sampling techniques. Okay, types of sampling techniques. First type is simple random sampling. So what is a simple random sampling? Here, a sample will be selected in such a way that there will be an equal chance given to all the individual. Okay, each has an equal chance of being selected. Each has an equal chance of being selected. Okay, that is called as simple random sampling. Second type is random sampling. So random sampling is nothing but your simple random sampling. It is more of a simple random sampling. Okay. Now, third type, systematic sampling. That means you will start your study, or you will start to choose your sample at some point. That will be your starting point. And then from there on, you will select every kth element in the population. For example, let's say you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, you have 10 individuals here. Now I am going to start from somewhere here. Okay, so this will be my starting point. This is my starting point. And now I am going to select every second individual. Okay, every second individual. So from here, if I start 1, 1, 2, this is my second individual, right? Which is nothing but kth element. 1, 2. This is the kth element, which is second element. 1, 2. Kth element, right? So this type of sampling is called as systematic sampling. Okay. Now, fourth type is the convenience sampling. It is nothing but you will be selecting a sample which is very easy to get. Okay. So that is called as convenience sampling. The last type, the second last type, is the stratified sampling. So here you will be dividing the population into at least 2 different groups, and then you will draw some subjects from each groups. Okay, so it will work like this. For example, let's say this is your population. So let's say this is your population. Okay, complete population. Okay, now I will be dividing this population into 2 groups. Okay, I will be dividing this population, complete population, into 2 groups, and this is my sample now. These two, the whole population is divided into 2 groups. It can be any numbers. There is no necessary that you have to divide them equally. No, it can be divided randomly also. Okay. Now you are dividing the whole group into 2 subgroups. And now I will be choosing like 3 people from here. I will be selecting 1, 2, 3 people from here, and I will choose 1 people from here, and then I will put all these 4 people into another group. That I will call it as sample. This process is called as stratified sampling. Now, this group, each group is called as strata or stratum. Okay, each group, this box, the box over here, that is called as strata or stratum. Okay, this is stratified sampling. The last method, it is similar to your previous method, stratified sampling, where you divide the whole population into groups, or in the sampling technique, in the sampling type, the groups is called as clusters. In this stratified sampling, the group is called as stratum. Okay. Now I'm dividing the whole population into 2 groups. In the same way, I will be dividing the whole population into 2 groups. Let me draw it in this color. Okay. And I have same number of people. Here I have same number. Now, when you want to select people from this group, in cluster sampling, remember, in cluster sampling, you have to select the complete group. This becomes my sample. You cannot choose you cannot choose individuals from this group and this group, right? That will become your stratified sampling. If you are choosing everyone of that group as a sample, that will be called as cluster sampling. Okay, and this box here is your cluster, which is nothing but the group. A group is also called as cluster in cluster sampling. A group is also called as strata or stratum in stratified sampling. Okay, now let us see what is the difference between the stratified sampling and cluster sampling. Okay, now so here in stratified sampling, so this is the whole population. The black box here, as you can see, the border here, from here to here, here to here. This is your whole population, which is divided into how many strata? So strata or stratum is also called as groups in stratified sampling. So this is one strata, hit here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the whole population, the complete whole population is divided into 6 groups or 6 strata. Okay. Now I want to choose my sample. So in stratified sampling, we will choose sample in such a way that we will choose randomly. It can be any number of individuals, but we will be choosing from every group. Okay, you have to choose from every group. Whereas in cluster sampling, you will be dividing the same population into the same 6 groups or clusters, but while selecting the sample, you have to choose the whole entire group, entire subgroup. You have to choose the entire clusters. Okay, that is the main difference between the stratified sampling and cluster sampling. So now we are done with the theory part. Let us concentrate on the examples. Okay. So first question, a student asked 18 friends to participate in a psychology experiment. A student is asking the information from a friends. That means you are getting the information or data very easily. So if you are getting the data easily, it is called as convenience sampling. Convenience sampling, because you are getting the data is very easy to get. Next. Don't have space here. Here they are saying that the law enforcement officials, they stop and check the driver of every third vehicle for blood alcohol content. So as I said they are stopping at and checking the driver at every kth element. So which sampling is that? Systematic. Because they are stopping at every third vehicle. Okay. Next, a market researcher selects 500 people from each of 10 cities. That means you have 10 cities, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have 10 cities and he is selecting 500 from each of them. That means is picking out only 500 from each group. So which sampling is that? The whole, remember here, the whole population is divided into 10 cities. Okay, and then they are choosing 500 randomly, 500 people from each group. Then that will be called as stratified sampling. Okay. After a hurricane, for disaster area, a disaster area is divided into 200 equal grids, and 30 of the grids are selected, and every occupied household in the grid is interviewed to help focus relief efforts on what residents require the most. So here, observe one thing carefully. They say divided. So there is a complete group, one large group, and they are dividing that group into 200 equal grids. Imagine, just assume it is a 200 groups or grids. Okay, they are dividing the whole entire group into 200. And 300 of the grids are selected, or sorry, the 30 of the grids are selected. So they are selecting all 30 grids, the entire group. They are selecting the starting 30, or some randomly they are selecting some 30 grids. Okay, they are selecting 30 grids. So when they say it is divided, when a group is divided, it could be two types of sampling, that is stratified, or it has to be cluster. Now, can I say this as stratified? Remember, in stratified, they have to select all the 200 grids. They cannot select only 30, right? If they are saying that they are selecting only 30 grids out of 200, it is cluster. It is not stratified. It is a cluster sampling. Next question. The author surveyed a sample from the population of a statistics class by identifying groups of males and females, then randomly selected 5 students from each of these two groups. So you have an entire students here, population, entire students, and she is dividing into two groups, male and female, and she is going to select 5 students from each group. 5 students from here, 5 students from here. That means two groups. She is collecting the sample from all the groups, right? From all the groups. Even though she is not selecting everyone, she is selecting from each group. That means it is stratified. It is not cluster, because in cluster sampling you have to select the entire group, but she is selecting only 5 people in one group, in each group. So it is not cluster sampling. Next question. A student of the author conducted a survey on driving habits by randomly selecting 3 different classes and surveying all the students as they left those classes. So there is an entire group which is divided into 3 classes, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and they say that it is divided into 3 different classes. Remember this. And surveying all the students as they left those classes. So, which means all. So, entire group is selected. Entire group is selected. That means it is cluster sampling. Entire group or entire cluster. Let me call it as cluster selected. Okay, so there's a few of the examples. Let me give you some more examples. Example number 7. Pick a name out of the hat. Now you have to tell me which sampling technique is used. Remember, the question says that they are picking a name randomly. So tell me which sampling technique is this. 8th problem. Selecting every third student to taste a soft drink, a new drink. Okay, you have to tell me which sampling technique is used. I'm selecting 24 students. 24 students are randomly selected from each grade level and survey about the study habits. So here I am selecting 24 students and they are selected randomly. Okay. Last problem. I'm going to divide class into, divide the class into 6 groups. And in each group, I have 3 students. And I am going to choose randomly 2 groups, 2 entire groups to determine popular majors studied at PCC. Okay. Now tell me which sampling technique is this. So answer all these questions, all the pink color questions, so that you will understand the concept which we learned today completely. Okay. So this is it for today, and I will see you all on Wednesday. Oh no, it is not Wednesday. It will be in the next video. Okay? Take care.